beautiful day. My signal path, I'm using the Axe FX. I've got a cab, amp into a cab, into reverb. I'm using one delay. That one delay is a quarter note delay at 136 BPM, that's 441 milliseconds. I might not have provided all this information earlier. It's 31.5% on the feedback. So the feedback sounds like this, sounds like this. You want a light delay. You don't want to be a heavy delay here. That might even be too much. You just want to get a nice bell tone here. The mix for me, I've got it 30%, might be a little high, so it's not mixed in real high. You can, just a nice faint bell tone. Let's go through the first verse that we completed before with the delay on, and then we'll do it to the backtrack. So with the delay on, we did the following before. Let's add the backtrack so you can see how it comes together on this song.
But there's no room, no space to rent in this town. You're out of luck, and the reason that you had to care, the traffic is stuck. You're not moving anywhere. Thought you found a friend to take you out of this place. Someone you could lend a hand in return for goodness. Beautiful.
Okay, the second verse, let's break that down into its components. It's about the same number of measures. I think it's 16 also. 16 measures. It's very similar to the first verse, but with some change ups. Starts off like this. I'm going to play with the delay off. That's two measures. Do it a little slower. Okay, third measure. You'll recall the third measure of the first verse was the following. This time he threw in the 7th fret right here and did. So before it was this. The third measure of the second verse is the following. So this is where Edge in the second verse, he's starting to throw in a couple of other notes that he didn't the first time around. He kind of built it up. In the first verse, he started off slow, fewer notes, and he built it up to more notes per measure. And then in the second verse, there's a lot more notes per measure, and he changes it up even more. So it's just a trend I notice in the song. And you'll probably notice that also if you go back to the tutorial of the first verse and then take a look at this. And as you go through the second tutorial of the second verse, you'll see how it's slightly a little more complex. So let's do the first three measures again. Fourth measure is pretty simple. Just hold that position. You'll also recall the fourth measure of the first verse was just this. So here he's added, he's just started with here, this note, and he went, now he's doing this. So he added another note more than he did in the first verse. So let's do that again. first four measures. Let's play that with delay. One more time. That fourth measure, same thing in the first verse. You play a little lighter. So listen to the song. Not every note is hit with the same emphasis. So let me do that again. It's a little louder the first three measures, and then I'll lighten it up on the fourth one. So this is where you get the touch of the right hand, and don't always strike every single note or every measure the same way. So he lightens it up intermittently, and that's kind of like a filler measure. So moving on now to the fifth measure, we have. That's the fifth measure. One more time, slower. And it's going to blend in to the sixth measure. The sixth measure is going to be this. Doesn't sound like much, but it'll come together with that fifth measure. Again, the sixth measure. Okay. So let's put the fifth and sixth together. That last note's not going to ring out like that. It's going to be an eighth note, and it's going to blend in to the what are we on? We're on 5, 6, the seventh measure. So let's do the fifth, sixth, and seventh measure. Oh, let's do the seventh measure first. The seventh measure is going to be. One more time. Fifth, sixth, and seventh. So let's go through the measures 1 through 8. So you can see how that's a lot different than the first 8 measures, or a little bit different than the first 8 measures of the first verse.